Imagine this, August 1943, over 34,000 American and Canadian soldiers storm a remote island. Warships unleash a torrent of steel, their cannons roaring. Hundreds of aircraft darken the skies, dropping bombs on unseen targets. But when the smoke clears and the troops land, they don't find a single enemy soldier. Not one. Yet, men still die. This isn't a ghost story. This is the true account of Operation Cottage, one of the strangest and most unsettling military operations of the Second World War. Our story takes place on Kiska, a desolate, windswept rock in the Aleutian Islands of Alaska. It's a place of perpetual fog, freezing winds, and volcanic terrain. A place where nature itself seems hostile to human life. In June of 1942, this remote American outpost fell into enemy hands. Japanese forces, in a surprise move, occupied Kiska and the nearby island of Attu. The news sent shockwaves through the United States. For the first time since the War of 1812, an enemy power held sovereign American territory. The psychological blow was immense. The front-page headlines screamed. The public demanded action. From the highest levels in Washington, the order was clear. Kiska had to be retaken, no matter the cost. It was no longer just a strategic dot on a map. It was a symbol of national pride. Before they could take Kiska, the Allies first had to recapture the island of Attu. The Battle of Attu, fought in May 1943, was a horrifying preview of what they thought awaited them. It was a brutal 17-day slog through icy mud and treacherous mountains. American soldiers, poorly equipped for the Arctic conditions, suffered from frostbite and trenchfoot. The battle for Attu was catastrophic. Out of a force of roughly 15,000 Americans, over 3,800 became casualties. With the nightmare of Attu fresh in their minds, Allied commanders looked towards Kiska with grim determination. They knew the Japanese garrison there was larger, the defenses likely stronger. They prepared for hell on earth. Warships fired thousands of shells, turning the landscape into a cratered moonscape. Bombers flew sortie after sortie, dropping their payloads into the thick, swirling fog that perpetually blanketed the island. Troops were given stark warnings in their pre-invasion briefings. Expect ambushes in every ravine, booby traps on every trail. Expect fanatical resistance and suicide attacks. The fog was their constant, suffocating companion. Visibility was often just a few feet. It created a disorienting, terrifying world where every rock could hide a machine gun nest and every shadow could be an advancing soldier. The psychological tension was unbearable. On August 15, 1943, the invasion began. But there was nothing, only the sound of the waves, the cries of seabirds, and the eerie whistle of the wind. A chilling, unnatural silence hung over Kiska. Cautiously, units began to advance inland, moving through the thick fog. The tension was palpable. Every soldier was on edge, their nerves stretched to the breaking point. Then, the silence was shattered. Gunfire erupted. Muzzle flashes lit up the grey mist. Men shouted, hit the dirt, and returned fire. The problem was, the shots weren't coming from the Japanese. In the chaos and zero visibility of the fog, Allied units had stumbled into each other. American soldiers were firing on other Americans. Canadians were firing on Americans. Terrified and disoriented, they were fighting a phantom enemy, a battle against shadows conjured by their own fear. The friendly fire incidents were tragic and deadly. As soldiers moved deeper into the island, they encountered the remnants of the Japanese occupation: empty barracks, abandoned equipment, and something more sinister: booby traps and mines. The men on Kiska were fighting a war against an enemy who wasn't there, yet the island itself seemed determined to kill them. On August 18th, 3 days into the invasion, the destroyer USS Abner Reed was patrolling the waters off Kiska. Within minutes, the destroyer was sinking into the frigid Alaskan waters. The crew scrambled to abandon ship, but for many, it was too late. 71 American sailors were killed or went missing, swallowed by the icy sea. By the time the Allied commanders finally confirmed the truth, the casualty list was grim. On land, 28 Allied soldiers were dead, and over 50 were wounded, all from friendly fire and booby traps. At sea, 71 were gone. The total cost was nearly 100 lives lost, and hundreds more injured, both physically and psychologically. Weeks before the invasion, under the cover of the same thick fog that would later cause so much confusion, the Japanese had executed a masterful and daring evacuation. When the first Allied soldier set foot on Kiska on August 15th, the war for the island had already been over for 17 days. Operation Cottage stands as a chilling testament to the nature of war itself. The combination of extreme fear, flawed assumptions, and the chaos of the fog of war can be just as deadly as any opposing army. They had been told to expect the worst, and in that tense, suffocating environment, their minds created the enemy they were so desperate to find. A battle fought against ghosts, where the real enemies were fear and confusion. Thank you for watching.